Today I'm changing out this left rear wheel speed sensor in a 2012 Silverado. I had to remove the T30 torque screw that was holding it in. I took a pair of pliers and rotated it back and forth. Got a little bit of clearance on it, then I took two screwdrivers, went in there and rocked it back and forth to get it out without breaking it. It's hard to tell, but there was some rust there, and I went ahead and cleaned that up already. And I'm fixing to put the new one in there. And I start by wiping a very slight amount of dielectric grease. It's a silicone-based grease on that O-ring. And I go back and wipe to make sure that I don't have any on the rear end side of that O-ring. And the reason I do that, I picked that habit up a long time ago on a lot of other things, because you don't want to take a chance of contaminating other fluids. You don't know if the silicone that's in it is going to help or hurt it. But anyways, that's on there without being to the inside. We're going to stick it in there and rotate. Rotate it until it seats in there. Line the hole up. And then we're taking and install the T30 torque screw back in there. And then we'll tighten it down until we get a nice solid click on our torque wrench. And that's that part. And I have to come around here and get this worked loose. Should be able to do that mostly with the screwdriver. And there we go on that. So get that out of the way, bring the new one over there, clip it down in the hole. Gonna have to try and get this one out here. That. After reviewing the footage, I decided this is the way this one came out. I had to wiggle this bottom one around and kind of flex this one around and get as much slack in that as I could. Now I'm going to have to go up to the top side and get this other connector out. Let's see, get this one stuck up in there first. This is one of the perils of working on stuff and having to make a living doing it. Now that I've got that out, I can go reach in here and get this other connector that I just stuck up in there. Get that one out the way first. How do I get that one out the way? Get my fingers off of it, hopefully. Get that down in there and plug this back up. Maybe easier said than done. Now we're going to take this thing for a test drive. Hope this camera stays halfway steady. Don't really look like it's going to stay that steady, but maybe I can edit most of it out. The last time I drove this truck, at the next red light is when all the ABS and brake light stuff lit up. And I also had the TPMS light come on after quite a while. I drove to the next town and back, and it came on the way back. And so far we've passed the first hurdle of getting past that red light. Now we've got to drive on and do our full test drive that we did the other day. That I did the other day. You weren't with me. And I've got my scan tool with me, so if the light does come on, I can check it out and see what it is. Okay, and that's going to be the third red light we've stopped at, and everything's good. I have noticed this thing's got wore out shocks on it too. It needs to have shocks put on. And even though I focus mainly on electrical work, so you don't ever really see me doing replacing shocks and things like that, one of the things I've realized over the years is a large amount of electrical problems are caused by bad shock absorbers. You wind up hammering the vehicle down the road with bad shocks, and it destroys computers, makes wiring harnesses jar out of position, cut through, short out, all sorts of stuff. And next to human interference after it leaves the factory, probably bad shocks is one of them, and dirt are the two biggest causes of problems in electrical systems. And I did mention earlier that the TPMS light had been coming on after you drove this thing about 10 to 15 miles. It would come on. I checked the codes. It had 3 codes stored, all of them dealing with tire pressure sensors. But they were, when you looked in the data, all the ones that came up, which is 3 out of 4, came up as invalid data and not being learned. So what I did was I went ahead and put this thing into learn mode a little while ago before I got started on the ABS sensor, and went ahead and relearned those. And once I relearned them, well, I should say this, before I learned them, of course they said invalid and not learned and all that kind of stuff, instead of reading normal and an air pressure. The air pressure that they were reading was 147 point something PSI, which is generally what they read on a GM vehicle when they aren't properly programmed or recognized by the remote door lock module. But anyways, after learning them to the vehicle, they were all reading in the 30s except for one. I had to put some air in that tire because it was reading 27. And I'm going to hope that with this vehicle having so many problems with the battery going stone dead in it, that somehow in all those voltage cyclings that it had lost its learned memory on those sensors, and we're going to be okay now. And what I'll do is, if the light does stay out during this whole test drive, I'll tell the customer what I did for the TPMS and tell them if it fixes it, fine. If it don't, we'll have to go in and put new sensors in. The customer had stated last week on the phone that if he was to leave and go about halfway to the the lights would all come on, which the ABS lights came on much quicker than that for me last week when I test drove it after talking with him. I gotta get over so I can get turned around. Everything's looking good so far. And when I come up here to make a turn, you may notice something missing. I'm about to turn the turn signal on, and there's no clicking sound. Well, there's no clicking sound because I took the radio out because the radio was killing the battery. I did a video on that and uploaded it last weekend or last week sometime, and I'll put a link to that from this one. These screws rattling around are about to drive me crazy. Of course, that's a short trip. Put them in my pocket for later. One more. Those are the screws. The screws that were rattling around were from the radio where it's been removed. And I think I'm fairly certain that the ABS issue is gone. Now all I gotta do is make sure the TPMS light doesn't come on back on before I get back to the shop. I'm gonna take the camera up a little bit, see the road, because it is a pretty nice place to come take a test drive. Big open 4-lane road with a center divider or center median going down through the national forest. Sometimes we forget about how blessed we are to live in this part of the country. The only thing really bad about it, well, a couple of things are bad about it. Number one, in the dead of summer, it's really hot and humid around here, so that's not a real good positive all the time. And then everybody that's moving in the area because it's so nice here most of the time, that's kind of getting to be a downer. From being a relatively quiet little area to now it's just hustling and bustling all the time. And I know you're going to look at the traffic here and say, hustling and bustling, this is nothing at all, but it used to be just a few years, like 10 or 15 years ago, I could be on this road and be by myself and not see a car in any direction. The only reason it needed to be 4-lane back then was because rush hour traffic in the morning and evening when everybody's leaving from this end of the country and going up to Charleston for employment and shopping and all that kind of stuff. Well, last time, just about a mile or two ago, the TPMS light came on, so it's not on right now, so maybe we did get that relearned successfully and it'll hold. Drop this back down to the instrument cluster because we're fixing to get back into traffic and I got to pay attention to that. Sparky out.